Oh, it's a
I
wet P.
understand. Oh, well, always. It always is, isn't it?
It always is.
What's
But
the
it
Where's
worst
it?
concert you've ever been to, John? Like, what's the worst concert you've ever personally attended?
I'm trying to think. I've been to here, by the way, here's the guy. Let me make it bigger for a second.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
oh man.
he looks like he
Yeah.
runs a craft brewery.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Um
Crisscross, you're going in the stadium, buddy. You're part of the fans
yeah.
now.
Yeah, bro, be a fan.
He's part of the
Um
band tuning up for the fight.
Worst concert I've ever been to. I feel like I can't remember what. This is a weird answer, but I used to go to Jazz Fest every year.
Mhm.
I'm probably gonna go for the first time in a while this upcoming Jazz Fest. I never was super big into a lot of the music because that was more of my parents' thing, and I was just a little shitty kid. I just wanted to go and eat the pizza balls that were being served at one place. They were like it was like these little dough balls that were filled with like pizza and stuff, and like you could really only get them at Jazz Fest because no other place
Like a
sold them.
pepperoni roll, kind of?
Yeah, like a pepperoni roll kind of, but it was like so southernly greasy and packed with shit. It was so unhealthy, but it's like the best thing I've ever eaten. I've not had it in years. That was the main draw for Jazz Fest for me. But I did go, and I can't remember what it was. It was what was the one the kid show with like all the weird like alien looking characters, and the main guy had like a big fuzzy orange hat.
Yo Gabba
Um,
Gabba?
Yo Gabba Gabba. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know anywhere. I would know that anywhere.
So I was a shitty little kid, and I thought Yo Gabba Gabba was awesome. And Yo Gabba Gabba was performing at Jazz Fest,
No
and
way.
they had a fake version of the dude. It wasn't the actual dude, it was like someone else. And I was so offended because even as a young, shitty little kid, I could tell that it was not the same dude. And I was like, wow, we drove all the way to New Orleans, dealt with the like traveling through Jazz Fest with all the fucking people, and I get to the Yo Gabba Gabba stage, and it's fraudulent. I am looking at fraudulent Gabba. So
That'd be a good band name.
that's my worst concert that I can immediately think of.
Wow.
Cake, what's the worst concert that you have attended?
I actually haven't been to that many bad concerts. I was thinking of like what my answer would be if you were to throw the question back at me, which you have, and I still haven't like cracked the code. Because typically I've just gone to concerts that I've genuinely enjoyed. I think the only one, I guess it counts on a technicality, was me and my family went to go see Devotchka in like a town square, and then they got rained out, so we actually didn't get to see them. They played like two songs, and then the rain came in. They had to be forced to quit, and then COVID hit, so we didn't get to see them again.
Oh,
So I guess that one. I don't know. My mom was really stoked. She loves Devotchka because of the movie Little Miss Sunshine. She's over the moon about him because of that movie.
right.
So she was pretty heartbroken about it. But
That that's
I haven't been to a concert that I was like, man, this stinks. I want to go home.
yeah.
Except uh, the opening band for some have been kind of cringe, but they're also the opener, so I guess I can live with it.
Well,
Anyway, Ethan, what's the worst concert you've ever been to?
yeah, Ethan,
The worst
you gotta
concert
go
that I
for
can
it.
remember is when I was a child and my parents took me to see U2, and it was in this. It was in Madison Square, not Madison Square Garden, but like the newly renovated Giant Stadium, which is humongous. And when I was a kid, I was deathly afraid of heights, and we were
Yeah,
very close to the edge of like like the edge of the partition where you can look straight down, and I
right.
was terrified the whole time.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Well, yeah, that's the type of shit that Bono puts you through.
Yeah, more like Vaughn. No, am I right? That's a
More
that's a
like
that's a me original. I thought about that first.
more like Bono, more like Lamo. That's a me original right
Oh,
there.
oh shit! I got the patent on that.
What?
I patented that joke about like 5 years ago, so you're kind of late to the punch on that one.
Oh,
I got the documents all right here. I got the proof all written up. So if you're gonna want to
well.
say that joke again, you're gonna need to give me some money. I'm sorry. That's just the way it goes.
Speaking of money, welcome to the Scramble Bunkhouse Deathcast.
Yep.
we're we're scram- we are scrambling, we are bunking, we are housing, and we are deathcasting. Yes, hello everybody. I think this is episode number 19, if I'm correct. One more away. One more
Oh
away from
man,
20. Only one
the big one,
more. The
the
big
big 2-0.
2-0.
the big 2-0.
Can
Yeah,
you stop doing that? Knock it off.
what am I doing? What am I doing?
What do you mean? What are you doing? I'm just speaking normally, folks. I'm just speaking normally.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I have the best
But-
speech pattern. It's the best. They tell me all the time I've got the best speech pattern.
I walked into the room and they said, "Wow, your speech pattern is amazing."
they never seen one like it.
I've heard it from numerous places and various people. They all tell me that they wish they had a voice like mine, and I tell them I just get up and I drink water every day. I drink 3 glasses, and that's how I get the voice.
And not four. If you drink two, if you drink four, you start drowning.
You start drowning. Some people they quit at 2 because they can't get to 3. They drown too quickly, but I always tell them they have
But
to
then you know
keep
what they
going.
say? They say, old Donnie, he never drowns."
You
so,
never drown.
so, so,
You know who else
Scramble-
never drowns?
who else never
Megumi
drowns?
Fujii.
Megumi Fujii never drowns. We're talking about Megumi Fujii. Okay, so who is Megumi Fujii? I think we need to clarify that. There are some people that listen to us that I assume most people that listen to us have at least some knowledge of MMA or something like that. Um, they've probably heard the name. Just to give a little bit of clarification for anyone who has not heard of her, Megumi Fujii is one of, if not the greatest female martial artists of all time. Um, I believe her record is like 27-3.
Oh,
I don't think she has ever lost. She has only lost by decision and by injury. Um, she started in 2004, went on like a 20 fight win streak until 2010. She is legitimately one of the most talented fighters of all time. An incredible fighter, not only in terms of striking everything, but also grappling. She is an incredible grappler. Has backgrounds in judo and sambo. She was an 8-time Japan champion in sambo. Uh, I cannot say enough. Megumi Fujii legitimately might be one of the most talented fighters of our lifetime. Um, And this is us talking about her wrestling career. Because for anyone who does not know, Megumi Fujii did have a wrestling career. If you look at Cage Match, it's 4 matches, but it's 3 matches. The 4th match is a kickboxing exhibition. From all I understand, everything I've read about it, that was a complete shoot. It's just on the website because it was on a wrestling card. But Megumi Fujii had 3 professional wrestling matches in her career. We
All of which
have
involve
those
Mariko
3.
Yoshida.
Yeah, all of which have Mariko Yoshida too, which I think is worth mentioning that there's a link between them. I do not remember where I read it, but I've read before that they're friends. Uh, it would make sense considering the fact that they always wrestle together, and Fuji was only working for feds where either Yoshida had power or was just flat out the one running it. Um, so every match involves Yoshida. Every match is basically just Fuji. If Fuji feels like a tiger in a den of deer, like she is a tiger entering into the the flocks of elk and just ripping them apart.
The
Uh,
only person who truly ever stands a chance against her is Mariko Yoshida. And Mariko Yoshida only ever feels like she only ever feels like the big fish in the small pond that just met the biggest fish they've ever seen.
Yes. So
Yeah,
I
it's
think
very
there's
much like
yeah.
taking a fish out of an aquarium and throwing them into the ocean.
Yeah.
Or
Or
in
alternatively,
Fuji's
I would
case, yeah,
yeah, I
it's
would
like
yeah.
taking the biggest fish you could find in the ocean and plopping it into like the smallest aquarium that could possibly habitate it with
Yeah,
all the smallest
yeah.
fish around.
I mean,
It's like
yeah,
you know when you get like two beta fish and you put them
It's
in the
literally
same
like
thing,
shooting fish in a
and
barrel.
yeah, you put the two beta fish in the same thing. You got to divide them because they'll fight each other. It's like
Mhm.
there's a group of beta fish that fight each other, and then you find like a somewhat medium sized shark and put it in the tank with the beta fish. Like it's the beta fish have been fighting. They have been going to war, and it has been an equal battle of just the same type of combat. The shark comes in, and not only is it dominating, it is doing things that the beta fish have never even imagined is possible. Um,
They might have
and,
seen other beta fish try something similar, like with Mariko Yoshida, but nothing to this extent, nothing to this speed, power, or determination. It's crazy.
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
it's literally like you just took somebody from an alien universe and plopped them into pro wrestling. Because you would barely even see the shit that Fuji was doing in women's MMA at the time. This was
yeah,
before this was before Ronda Rousey was even like out of high school, I'm pretty sure. This was
yeah.
like
well, I mean, nothing that anyone in UFC ever did, I would imagine, could compare to what she was doing.
No, no. Like,
Yeah, yeah, like
okay,
you could mention Ronda, but like I don't know, man.
I will
no,
say,
I'm saying like
like,
this was the fact that she was doing this literal like Ronda definitely couldn't do it. Half the women in modern MMA couldn't do it. But she was doing this like 10 years before 10, 15 years before they came around. And they have the benefit of being able to watch her tapes and study from her. And they still can't do this shit. She's one of
yeah,
one.
yeah. Like, there's a period of Japanese martial arts, especially where you get to see like the grapplers actually thrive. Like Sakuraba was a milestone fighter. Where he kind of changed what the perception was. Because already the Gracies were dominant and everything, and it was like, oh, grapplers will just destroy non-grapplers depending on the situation. Sakuraba showed a different style of grappling. Then you had guys like Shinya Aoki, Hidetaka Monma, Seichi Ikemoto, other people in that realm who would just come in and would do this incredible grappling against each other. And you'd see that among the women's MMA fighters too. But Fuji feels like an entirely different entity, especially in wrestling, where she does not have to actually fight in the same way that she has to do in like martial arts. Where in
She can
martial
just
arts, it's not possible for her to do a lot of these holds in actual MMA because there's ways to prevent them because a lot of these are very complex.
Mm.
Um, this is wrestling though; she can get away with it, and she gets away with it. Um, so I guess it's worth just going straight into it because we watched the entirety of her professional wrestling career. It is less than an hour long. It is three matches. They are all available on YouTube. You need to watch all of them if you have not seen them. Uh, but let's just start with the beginning. The 2003 match in Arshin, I believe it is May 24th. MMA rules. Megumi
2003.
Fujii against Mariko Yoshida. And this is before Fujii had even started her MMA career. This is when she was just the best sambo fighter in all of Japan.
Yeah, she was just the best Samba fighter in all of Japan. Nothing
Yeah,
special.
yeah, nothing special. Um,
I would love to just like start talking about this match because this might be my favorite Fuji match, partially because it is probably the most stunning rookie performance or first match performance, I should say, that I've ever seen. Megumi Fujii is just on fire. She is going Larry Bird in the 3-point contest mode. She does not take off her ring jacket at all during this match. She's just out there to have a good time. It's I don't know. There's just something awesome about the fact that she refuses to take off her ring jacket, even against the one person who could, at least in kayfabe, give her a little bit of it. And Yoshida does all she can to try and put Fujii down. She tries to match Fujii on the mat, but she's a wizard. If you've seen any Mariko Yoshida, any other women's wrestler in Japan at the time looks like a novice against her. She had a match with Ayako Hamada, which is fucking unbelievable, where she just toys with Ayako the whole time. But here, she's the one getting toyed with. The only way she ever
gets
gets an
put in
advantage,
a truly like a foreign situation for her in every like facet.
Yeah.
exactly. And it's
It's
like
interesting because it's not like I think this is because of the place where the match happens, but it's not like when Brock came back and like Cena just got pwned for like 10 minutes and then came back. There's like genuine back and forth in the whole match. Like there is a fight going on the entire time. It's not like a clear cut she's getting owned and then she isn't anymore type deal. Uh and I think that's a little bit more interesting, I guess, because it's neat to look at it that way. That like she's still getting stuff in on Fujii. It just never really lasts long, and she's still getting out of Fuji's hold. It's just she never really is out of them for that long either. At least for the entirety of the first round. The first round is just like, hey, here's Megumi Fujii. Here's what she's all about.
Yeah.
no, yeah, but I think the thing about that is, Yoshida does get her moments there, but the reason that Yoshida gets her moments in the sun, where she gets the chance to face off against Fujii and even get the advantage sometimes, the reason that I like this match so much is because that is an inverse of every time, pretty much every other Mariko Yoshida match. Because like in every other Yoshida match, she's the one who's grappling all the time. She's the one who takes things to the mat and dominates there. And her opponent's the one who's forced to take her into the wrestling side of things, where she's still great, but they're more versed in the wrestling side of things. Yoshida is the one versed in the wrestling side of things here. She's not the MMA specialist because she's fighting an even deeper MMA specialist. So she has to get her advantages the only way she can through pro wrestling, and I just think that's a cool inversion of her whole thing.
Yeah. And I do
That's
want to
the main thing
mention
that I was
that,
thinking.
yeah, I think it's really cool because it actually the strategy does not work at first
No,
because the entire like first round there are multiple different points where Yoshida goes for wrestling type maneuvers. You know, whether she's actually going for the moves themselves or she is just trying to position Fuji for the moves, and it's shut down. There's this really awesome moment where Fuji is on the ground and Yoshida, very much wrestling style, tries to drag her up to do another move, and immediately Fuji just grabs onto her arm, drags her back down, and puts her in an armbar. And it's like that. It's a complete shock to the system for Yoshida because theoretically in every other match that wouldn't have happened. She would have dragged the person up. She would have hit her move. Fuji is not working within professional wrestling guidelines. She is not abiding by the unsaid rules, and there's a certain extent of kayfabe or whatever, but she's not abiding by the unsaid uh, rules of professional wrestling, of how these spots and stuff work. She's just fighting. She's just fighting Yoshida, and Yoshida has to learn either she has to try and fight her equally, go full in on the fighting, which is a losing battle, or get better at picking her spots to zone in on the wrestling. Because that also exposes a big thing about Fuji, that she does not get the wrestling. That if the wrestling is zoned in on, she cannot survive because she does not know how to defend against that. Which leads into the second and third round, where you're right. The more that Yoshida does the wrestling stuff, the more chinks appear in the armor of Megumi Fujii.
I think it's genuinely. I think this is a standout Enochiist classic when you actually think about it. Like I think like genuinely like the heart of like the Enochiism message is on full display in this match, in the sense that Yoshida is essentially proving the whole motif that pro wrestling is the strongest fight.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
that's so clear, and it's so cool that that could happen even in a mostly like hybrid scene as like Arishin or however you say it. Like even in a promotion like that where it's so deeply rooted in the reality of most contests, you could still have a match that shows that the wrestling aspect is why people are still there and why people win and succeed.
Yeah.
I think there's something really cool with the fact that Fuji loses whenever she, well, like you said, that she loses her edge whenever she's in a wrestling maneuver or whenever Yoshida tries the wrestling stuff on her. I think it speaks to the fact that Fuji understands pro wrestling kind of inherently, that she can display that she's weaker against it. You know,
Right.
that would be an
I think the only
instinct that takes a lot of years to
I think
take.
the only exception to that is the air raid crash. She manages to find like a new counter to that every single time.
Well, that
That's
okay.
true.
That's also kind of going to the thing of like what I said earlier with the way that Yoshida applies the wrestling has to be done like just right. If she doesn't do it just right, Fuji just finds a way out of it because again, she's not abiding by the wrestling mindset of, spots and everything like that. And again, it is all I guess it's into a weird conversation of what's real, what's not. But the biggest thing is that wrestling has a type of pacing that all wrestlers abide by. And there's an argument to be made that that is a subconscious thing within the world of kayfabe, that all wrestlers abide by this unsaid pacing for whatever reason. It's the same way that, like in football, people abide by the timeouts and stuff. That's how it is in the ring, and Fuji does not abide by that. Um, and it also just goes into the fact that Fuji is one of the greatest grapplers of all time. Like, man, woman, whatever. She's just one of the best in the world at quickly changing the entire control of a match just by maneuvering her body within the span of a second to go from being almost about to be dropped on her head to having an armbar in or putting in a rear naked choke. Like, she is able to so easily shift the tides of the match. And it's stunning. It's stunning. Eh,
Hello? What's that?
hmm?
Say something, Ethan? Say something. Well,
I know.
alright, well.
Oh,
I
yeah.
completely
Oh.
agree with you, John.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I do want to say about the air raid crash, or two things, are one, I think it's really cool how Fuji could find counters to all of her friends' best moves. It feels like, I don't know, it just feels, there's something almost heartwarming about that. Like, it feels like Fuji's been watching Yoshida's matches and has been, like, thinking about it. Like, if I was to ever get into the ring with Yoshida, how would I counter this move? It's kind of sweet in a way, but it's also in the same way that it's really sick and brutal. But also, on that same note of friendship and being able to counter your friend's moves, Fuji locks in. What is it called, John?
The spider twist. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was gonna bring that up if you didn't.
Fuji locks in the spider twist after Yoshida goes for it like 4 or 5 times in a row and
Okay, yeah.
almost gets Fuji with it each time.
Okay, yeah, and I need to I gotta talk about this for a second. Because we're
It's
talking
sick
about the,
spot.
the, the methodology and the psychology and everything, and I mention the moves every now and then. Everyone here has mentioned the moves every now and then. Here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing with this match is if go beyond all of the attempted explanations of the storytelling and the methodologies and everything, the theory behind the match itself, the grappling in this match is mind blowing.
Hmm.
It is the type of stuff you will never see anywhere else. There's not a single match that's ever come close to matching this type of grappling. The only thing I can say has come close is Volk versus Tamura.
Yeah, that's what I was about to
I
bring.
think that is there's a strong comparison to be made between the two, and even then, I think this is better. I think this is flat out better when it comes to the grappling than that match, than any of those matches. Um, there's a stretch of time where Yoshida is continuously trying to go for the spider twist. And somehow, within the span of a second, Fuji is finding a way to escape from it and put in a new hold. But Yoshida keeps escaping from that hold and putting in the spider twist. And it's not like it's not like they're letting go of the hold so the other person get it. They're just finding new ways to escape, and it ends with Fuji putting in her own spider twist
that Yoshida cannot get out of because she doesn't know how to get out of her own goddamn hold.
Yeah, she's not Mike Quackenbush. She hasn't fucking theorized the reverse Shikara special or whatever the fuck. So she just has to go to the ropes. Um,
She looks like she's out of it too. Like
Yeah.
like that's one thing
She's
I always
foaming
love
at the mouth
about
Fujiwara style, dude.
yeah,
something that I've always loved about the way that for some reason only I don't know, maybe some promotions in the West have done it. I mean not the West, in like America or Mexico have done it, but it feels like it's a very Japanese thing to hide the ropes intentionally on submissions when they're
yeah,
being filmed. Like you can't actually tell how close anyone ever is to the ropes. Like even when like they're in those spots where like they're reaching out with their hands or whatever to try and grab it. The cameraman is always like underneath the rope or past it or whatever so that like you have no idea how far they actually are to those things or how close. And this is such a good example of that. It's so like locked in on Yoshida's face in the spider's twist and how like she just looks completely utterly cooked. And you haven't seen any vantage point yet in like the footage that shows how she really is like 1 foot away from the ropes. So that when
yeah,
she actually just goes and does it, it's like the most relieving thing in the world because you never even realized that that was an option.
yeah, 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 yeah,
The camera work in this match is fucking phenomenal.
yeah. I fuck, yeah. I didn't even think to talk about the camera work, but yeah, the camera work is amazing. Um, they do a great job of just capturing everything that's going on here. I have the rope thing. It really does. It cuts to the ropes like a second before she puts her foot on it, and you had no way of seeing that until that cut. And I thought she was. I have in my notes written down she's cooked. Like I thought that was it. And then, of course, immediately after she gets put in that murder guillotine where Yoshida's limping it, and then she just kind of does a suplex and kills Fuji with it, and Yoshida goes together. And it's like a double down, and Yoshida is like physically like she's gasping for air after the guillotine, after the
Mhm.
spider twist, and we talk about it a lot on this podcast, just from the last episode and episodes before it. I'm a sucker for the physical evidence of what wrestling has done to somebody. I am a sucker for good selling that shows how somebody is getting worse and worse for wear in a match. I think that is a dying art. I think Yoshida, like, becoming less and less able to breathe throughout the match because of all the neck targeting and everything, like, all of the chokes and all of the holds, and the fact that she is, like, getting beaten down so badly that she is now at the point where she is fighting more for air than she is fighting Fuji. Like, that's incredible. That's incredible. And then of course she just goes insane and just starts kicking the shit out of Fuji, which I will note, I think Fuji throws a few strikes in this match right near the end. Outside of that, it's all grappling. Yoshida tries to go all grappling early on, but at some point she kind of snaps and realizes, okay, I actually do have to throw everything at Fuji. Because if this is a grappling versus grappling match, I lose. And I think that that's really interesting. The fact that she would make that decision and not just zone in on the grappling, because I've seen other people where they like I've seen other matches where guys just zone in on grappling the whole time, and especially if it's like a non-grappler versus grappler, I always have a slight issue with that because I'll see that and I'll go, okay, I don't know if I don't know if I like that it's on equal footing. I don't know if I like that these two characters, who one person is explicitly a better grappler, are just somehow on equal footing in grappling, and the other guy does
Mhm.
not have to resort to anything else. Yoshida in the second round almost immediately going to stomping and kicking the face of Fuji is like, it's gratifying. It's just it's an admission from her that I cannot match you on the mat. I can try, but I can't. But I'm a wrestler and I do a lot more than grappling.
Mhm. I do moves.
Yeah, you understand my moves. But yeah,
I got the moves. Yeah, no, match rules. I love this match. This match
match rules.
rules, dog.
Match is incredible. Of course, the ending of the match is another fucking scramble, which like I might actually be one of the best grappling scrambles I've seen in my entire life. Ends with a backslide. Yoshida barely wins.
Yeah, lest we forget, it ends in a wrestling move yet again.
Yes,
It just ends in a pin.
it ends in a pin, but of
I like how
course,
there's a pin. We haven't mentioned it, but there are pinfalls in this MMA
yes.
rules match.
It's basically just battle arts rules, but with rounds. Like
Original Battle Arts
yeah.
didn't have pinfalls. This is like old
No,
later
no, no, no,
Battle
no.
Arts.
It did because I remember seeing fucking like I remember seeing in Ikeda Ishikawa where they had pins, and Hidaka matches usually had pins, even if like they
Oh,
were
that's
more
true. That's
battle
true. They did
artsy.
have some matches that most
Yeah,
of them they just didn't go for pins though.
yeah. A lot of them it was like just an active choice not to, but there were pins and stuff. I think I've seen Otsuka go for pins on occasion, but like this is basically the same thing. It's just they have it in rounds, and it's not like they're being forced to only go for submissions and knockouts. It's more of a mental decision of like this is the area we're in right now, so let's go for this. But yeah, Yoshida barely gets the win with a backslide, 1, 2, 3. She cuts a promo after where she says, let's be a tag team, and they shake hands. Arshin dies within a month, so that never happens. Fuck Rossi Ogawa.
They do eventually
So
team
true.
up in Mariko Yoshida's own promotion,
That
Ibuki.
is true. That is true. 2 years later, 2 years after maybe, I don't want to say this for certain, maybe the best debut match of all time. At bare minimum, I would say probably top five.
Oh
Top
yeah, the
five.
only other competition in my books is the Aoyagi debut.
Aoyagi Oh my god, you're right. That would be his debut. Fuck. Okay, that's the number one. That is the number one. But top five debut of all time in Yoshida versus Fuji. 2 years after that, Ibuki is a thing. Ibuki is a promotion that was started by Yoshida in cooperation with a company that she was working with called Ovation. Um, 2 years after the singles match, the first show of Ibuki, the first main event, is Kyoko Kimura and Ayumi Kurihara against Mariko Yoshida and Megumi Fujii.
Kyoko Kimura famous for her match with Kana in Wave.
It's very, very famous for that. She also had like multiple other matches with Kana. I will say,
Mhm.
this is just a random agenda to just throw out there. The Wave match in Shinjuku Face, not their best match together. That's the one that everybody talks about. That's the 2008 one. I don't think that's their best match together. I don't even think that's their best match together in Wave. It
Oh
might
really?
not. It might not even be their best match together in Wave in the year 2008. Because I think
Wow.
they have another singles match in the same year in Shinkiba First Ring. It used to be online. I can't find it anymore. That match is fucking nuts. I think that match is better. I have not watched them side by side in years though, and I cannot find the Shinkiba First Ring match anymore. So if you have that, please let me know and send it to me because I want to watch it again. But yeah, there's random fucking agenda. Kyoki Kimura, very famous for that, very famous for a lot of other things. She's a wonderful wrestler. Ayumi Kurihara, one of those wrestlers that really deserved more. Did not get to stick around long enough to get her flowers. She stuck around for a while. It's just she never. She deserves so much more than she got, and it's only in hindsight that many people are realizing that, like, God damn it, we should have pushed her to the moon. But these are two young women, two of the wrestlers with the most potential in the scene, a scene that is fucking dying at this point in 2005. This is May of 2005. AJW closed at the beginning of the year, I believe. Gaia closed a month earlier. Every major women's wrestling promotion has died at this point. None of the ones that are still around look like they're going to be around for long or look like they're going to be worth anything anytime soon. Uh, Ibuki's whole purpose for existing, because Ibuki means breath, is that it was meant to be a breath of fresh air. It was Yoshida's attempt to revitalize the scene and showcase new young talent who she believed could lead the industry back to being where it was in the past. Um, whether or not she succeeded in that is a whole different story. At bare minimum, Ibuki was a fucking awesome Fed, and they probably should have succeeded if people were fair. Uh, but Megumi Fujii is back. That is the most important thing for this episode of the podcast. Megumi Fujii is back. She has not missed a fucking step. In
Mhm.
fact, I might go so far as to say that she is somehow even better. Even if we don't get to see her do as much since it's a tag, the stuff that she does pull off in this match, fucking mind blowing.
Yeah, you said what? It was 2 years that passed? 3?
2 years.
Yeah, 2. It certainly doesn't feel like it, not even remotely. She looks like she comes in with gear too. Like she's not wearing the jacket anymore. She has like actual pro wrestling gear too.
Yeah.
She's coming to play this time around. She's ready to lock in.
Yeah. I do also want to mention the rules for this match, very specific. This is
It's very funny.
it's a 3 falls match. It's not best 2 out of 3 falls match. It is 3 falls. So what that means is that there will be 3 matches within the match. It does not matter if one team gets 2 victories immediately. That third fall still has to happen. Um, the fact that I'm clarifying this means you probably know what happens. But
Yep.
it is brutal. It's incredible. It's actually an incredible match, and I'm gonna have a conversation probably, maybe with Cake too, depending on what his thoughts are. Because I feel like Cake, I can just take an assumption. Is your favorite match of the 3 the third match that we haven't talked about yet?
I don't know. I feel like it might be the first, honestly. I
Okay,
think it
that's
might
what
be the
I was gonna
second.
say. That's what I was gonna say. It's not the third match. Just as the third match is also amazing. Third match is
Yeah.
we will
The
talk
match
about it.
does rule.
But third match does not match up to the first or second, in my opinion. I feel like you guys would agree with that. You guys are both first match truthers. I'm
I,
a second match truther.
mm, is that
I
so?
I love that first match incredibly so. I mean, I said it that it was potentially the best debut match of all time until Ethan reminded me of Aoyagi Onita. Um, but Yoshida Fuji versus Kimura Kurihara is like one of the best women's tag matches I've ever seen, even if 5 minutes of it are clipped off, which the clipping in this match kind of feels brutal because it just happens. There's no
Mhm.
segue, it doesn't happen during a slow period, it just cuts at a certain point, and it cuts a lot. And I feel almost weird saying that this is better than the singles match because of that cutting. But considering what we do have, I think that second match is so fucking good. It's a close race. It's a close race between the two. I think both of them are in contention for my top 100. Um, but this tag specifically, there is something about it, and I think it's because, and I mentioned this that with the Yoshida Fuji match, it was Yoshida against someone from a completely different environment trying to learn to adapt against her, and slowly coming to figure that out while also coming to figure out how she can fight back using her own strengths as a wrestler. That's a lot of what this tag is too. Except I would go so far as to say that unlike the first match where Yoshida is almost on equal footing in a lot of ways and just has to find a way to fight back, in this tag, Kimura and Kurihara are going through hell. It's just sometimes they get to go against a hell that they're familiar with Yoshida, and sometimes they have to go against a foreign hell. And I think that's a terrifying thought. Hell when you are aware of what hell is still hell, but at least
Yeah.
you know what you're in for. They don't know what they're fucking in for with Fuji. They know it's going to be hell. They don't know how they're going to go through hell though, because Fuji is doing things that they are not able to react to. They can only just suffer. It is endless suffering when Fuji is in the ring because they cannot find a way to fight back against her fucking bullshit. Because she is just putting in ankle locks and chokes and arm bars, and she's pulling them out every single time. And the only way they can escape is if the partner runs in and kicks her off, because there is no way they can just get out of the hold. And that is a terrifying thought if you're a wrestler of like, if I get in the ring, I'm going to get put into a hold and I'm going to have to tap out because I don't know how to fucking fight against Megumi Fujii.
Yeah, it's the first two falls, by the way, they're like so short. Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the
first
first
one is
fall at
like,
least is like
and the first one is like 40 seconds, and I would love
yeah,
to
the
talk
first
about
fall.
that.
It took John more time to explain to you fine people how the match even operates than it did for the first fall to end.
Yeah,
Like it's over so freaking quickly, and then the
twice
second
to thrice
fall.
as long actually.
What?
Tom's explanation was twice to thrice as long as the first fall.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
probably.
yeah. First fall is like literally just Fuji comes in, pulls
Literally.
out a crazy fucking triangle choke, and then wins. Just immediately chokes out Kyoko Kimura and wins.
Yeah, and the second fall is not that much far behind either. Like it takes a little itty bitty bit longer, but it doesn't take that long. It like
Nope.
and I might be mistaken. I mean Yoshida's the one who scores the second fall, right?
uh
Because I don't think
No,
it's
I think it
Fuji
was
back to back.
Fuji. Yeah, it was a
Really?
back-to-back Fuji.
it was back to back Fuji. I think it was. I think it's just she did
Good.
to Curry this time instead of Kimura.
Uh
So
oh
she
wow.
she got to tap out both of them.
Also, I want to say I had no idea about the rules of this match when I was given it. Nobody, because at the time of recording, I asked a bunch of people what their favorite 2000s Joshi matches were on a poll, and nobody told me what the stipulation was. So I just assumed that you had to pin both members of both teams, like both Fuji and Yoshida had to pin or submit both of their opponents rather than just once at a time. I had no idea about the fucking third fall thing. I was so confused when I watched it the first time. So now with this context, I liked it a little bit more. But I also, I don't know, there's something about the first one that just gets me where I really want it to. But the second one is, man, the first 40 seconds, the first fall is unbelievable. It is
Yeah.
Fuji going ham. It has like a few of the most unbelievable counters I've ever seen, and it's made even better by the fact that none of her opponents can even comprehend, let alone handle what the fuck she's doing to them. It feels like a person's first encounter with an eldritch beast.
I think that's why I like the third fall a lot actually because it is so impressive that they make it feel believable that this super team could actually lose now because he just spent
Yes.
two falls of them dog walking these two, and but then by the time the third fall comes around, there's somehow an aura of possibility that even though they're definitively losing, like the match is over, they have lost 2-0. It doesn't matter now. They're still in it and they're still trying. And there's a slight chance that they could at least make it 2-1.
Yeah, and I will say, because I went back and checked, and I do not know how I forgot about this. I actually wrote down in the notes what happened. I just didn't say that was the finish. It was the schoolboy spot. That was the second fall. It was Kurihara repeatedly trying to schoolboy Fuji because if you can't actually hit a move on her because you can't do that to Fuji, it's not working. Just try to pin her quickly and hopefully get like a miracle pinfall. She tries to schoolboy her like 2 or 3 times, and then after like the third attempt, as
She
she's
does
getting
an
up,
insane like arm trap today.
yeah, as she's getting up, Fuji somehow latches onto her and puts in like a perfect armbar, like within the span of a second. Like does a full like 360 spin around Kurihara's body to put it in, pulls back on the arm, tap out. That's the second fall. It is it might actually be one of, if not the best submission I've ever seen. And like I know it's like all the crazy complex one and the Yaves and all the other shit. Like I rewatched that one multiple times. Not only like when we watched it together, but every time I watch this match, I rewatch the spots so many times because nobody else does this. Nobody else has ever done that in wrestling ever. I've not
I
seen
think
somebody put in an armbar like that.
no, actually, I think Shibata does it against Okada. And there's the Sakura Genesis match. He does something very, very similar. I have a link to it on twitter.com. I'll see if I can find it real quick. 'Cause I
Okay.
remember saving it specifically because I was like, that's such a cool counter. Let me hold on.
Am I
It's
even
Okay,
not
wait. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. It's just even
it's not
then.
exactly it is not like
Yeah.
a 1-to-1,
Yeah,
but it's the closest thing to it that I could think of.
I think it's the
it is
closest thing to
close.
what I've seen.
What were you
I'm,
saying,
I'm
Ethan?
gonna look around for it.
No, I'm saying that's
Ethan?
the closest thing to what I've seen. But
Yeah,
Kyoko, particular, holding her own just feels like, I don't know, it feels very triumphant because
yeah,
she doesn't negotiate on what she wants to do. She isn't going to play Yoshida and Fuji's game because she knows that she wouldn't win even if she did. She just
yeah,
goes in, balls to the wall, feet blazing, kicking the living shit out of whatever breathes. It's insane.
yeah.
She goes ham in this match in a way that she did go that kind of ham against Kana, but this feels more desperate
Yes.
and less hateful.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point to make about the third fall, and that's kind of why the third fall is so great. Because even with the Yoshida Fuji match, Yoshida still tried to kind of play Fuji's game. Like she tried to
Mm-hmm.
meet her on the mat. That in the third fall, that doesn't happen at all. Like Kurihara and Kimura are avoiding the mat like death. It's like MMA. It's like early MMA fights where people are like trying to avoid getting on the ground with a Gracie, because like you're fucked. You get on the ground with a Gracie, it's over. It's over.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels a lot like that. Of like we
Yeah,
know if we hit that ground and they get on top of us, they're gonna put in a hold. We're gonna lose. So instead, we're gonna bombard them with drop kicks and big boots and fucking like
stop.
forearms and headbutts and everything. Like we're going to go bomb, 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 bomb over and over and over again because that's all we have. If we hit the ground once, we're dead. It's like the fucking it's the bus that can't go below 30 miles an hour or else it explodes. Like those are those
Mm-hmm.
two. If they slow down for any minute, they're caught and it's
They're
over.
sharp.
Mm-hmm.
Stop swimming, you die. And
That's how it
eventually,
be.
at some point, they are forced to stop swimming, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, yeah. I see that the Shibata armbar. That is
Yeah.
that is like the closest I've ever seen. And even then, the
Yeah, still not
execution
even
is
comparable. It's not
yeah,
even
it's
comparable.
it's like he's going like 25 miles an hour in that clip, and Fuji's going like 100, and she's
Yeah.
doing a full 360 spin around for it too. It is a mind blowing transition into an armbar. But again, I think this match, and again, I want to compare it specifically to Yoshida Fuji because that is such an incredible match, and it's weird for I feel like it's weird for me personally because even I'm still trying to rationalize why I like this tag more. I think it is entirely because with Yoshida Fuji, the singles match, I see hope for Yoshida. And Yoshida wins, of course. But like I see that there is a battle to be fought. This tag match very explicitly says there is no battle to be fought. That these two young women who are kind of like the future, they are facing two of the most terrifying wrestlers of their scene ever. One of which is kind of this godlike figure who has kind of become the godmother of a scene that is dying and she's trying to save it. And the other one's like a phantom. Like Megumi Fujii is not a wrestler. It's just every now and then Yoshida can call on her to come in and do something. Like it's like I can't imagine the emotions that you feel when you find out that Yoshida has called in Megumi Fujii. It is a terrifying prospect. So to be put in this situation and still try to fight back, try to fight this horrifically one-sided losing battle is commendable. And the way they fight back, there's this one moment where Yoshida gets down for like a second. Like she gets hit hard enough that she slips up. And immediately, Kyoko and Kurihara are on top of her. Kurihara is spamming drop kicks to the head. Kyoko is booting her in the head, and they're just
Yeah.
doing it over and over and over again for about a 10-second span, and they will not let up because they see weakness. They see blood in the water, and God, they have been bleeding the entire time, but for the first time in the entire match, it's not their blood.
Yeah, that part rules so much. I forgot about and their kicks are so nasty too.
Yeah.
Like they're just straight in the dome. over and over and over again relentlessly. And I agree. I love that aspect about the match. I think I still prefer the singles match though. If only because I don't know. I think after like the second fall in this one, or at least after the first fall, when you realize that given that it's gonna go to a third no matter what, you can kind of guess what the second fall's gonna be.
Right.
Um, I feel like I kind of got lost a little bit there because I was like, damn, these guys got owned for a whole first fall. Oh boy, here we go, and then they do it again, and then they start fighting back, which is cool. But like, I don't know. I think I prefer the singles match because it's more it's still daunting. Like it does still feel like a genuine real effort for Yoshida. It kind of reminds me of Hokuto and Kandori almost in a sense of like,
Oh yeah.
of the rematch specifically, not their first match, but the rematch where like Hokuto is just like, the walls are closing in and after a point it's very very clear that Kandori's just figured it out and that she's cooked. And it feels like at least this first match between Fujii and Yoshida, it's like Fuji's already figured it out. Like she's already come into this knowing what to do. She owns the air raid crash every single time, even though she's never wrestled before.
Yeah.
She manages to figure out the spider twist stupidly fast and then just does it better than Yoshida. I don't think it's that Yoshida never learned to counter. I just think that Fuji applied it better. That's how I see it.
Right.
Um, it's just like there's already that natural like oh no feeling of that first match, and I think the triumph of Yoshida in that first match by getting Fuji with just some honest to god pro wrestling is like the motivator for why the opposing team in that second match would even want to try to begin with because the proof is out there. It can happen, and wrestling can win. They just didn't succeed the second time around, but I don't know. I think I like the first more because it's proof that it does happen and it is real. And then
Right.
the second is more proof that it's not always real and it doesn't always happen.
I mean, I would say the second is not even proof that sometimes wrestling does not win because the one that wins the match is Yoshida. I think the second one is more just proof of like miracles can happen, but they're called they're called miracles for a reason. The second match is kind of a slap in the face. It is a reality check of you can fight as hard as you want, but sometimes you just lose. But it's not a like I don't think it's
It's by
about the
no fault
losing
of your
here.
own. You're
Yeah.
just simply nowhere near the level of these two gods. It almost
Yeah.
reminds me of like the same lesson you learned from Jay Briscoe versus Samoa Joe at ROH at our best.
Yeah.
It's like you're no matter how good you are, even this young in your career, you're still facing off against somebody who's like unbeatable. And to try and do that, even though miracles can and do happen, but to try and hope for a miracle in that place is kind of impossible.
Yeah. Um
I think it's too pessimistic to describe the Yoshida win as a miracle though. Or like anything like that. I think it was just hard work. Like I don't think there was anything miraculous about it. She got her with a pin, like a real ass pin. And, she just read it properly. I don't think that's a miracle.
well yeah,
Um,
I don't think it's a miracle as much as it is. I mean, I
it's just
will say
hard. It's just hard.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think it was
No,
like some twist of fate. It was just really, really, really hard. And that's
I
I
kind of
was
think
impressive.
personally referring to the miracle as like if Jay Briscoe had won that match against Samoa Joe, or if Yoshida and Fuji had lost this one.
yeah, and I think definitely with fucking with the first match, it's kind of a 10% luck, 20% skill, etc. But I think that the tag also just one final note with the tag because I wrote it down and it made me happy. The first match has the whole story of Yoshida can't do the air raid crash because somehow Fuji already knows how to counter it and knows how to counter it in multiple different ways. That continues with the second match. Like that continues because Kimura and Kurihara are also able to counter the air raid crash and get out of it. The ending of the match, though, is Yoshida finally hitting the air raid crash. When it finally happens, the match ends. She gets the pinfall. It's over. And I I have a good amount of love for a one like that type of story of a I keep trying and he keeps failing, but eventually I get him in the perfect position and it works. And that's all I ever needed to win. So that's just another bonus point onto that match that pushes it the tiniest bit in front of the singles for me. Again, I get liking the singles more, and in fact, there's a chance I will go to sleep today, wake up tomorrow, and think, you know what, I like that singles more. But at least for now, there's just something about that tag, and there's just something about the way that Fujii feels so different than everything else. Like, she feels different in the singles match. Of course she does. But in this match especially, it almost feels like she's a weapon that is just being employed by Yoshida. That at any point Yoshida can send Fujii in, and the match completely shifts in their favor because there's nothing you can do against Fujii. But
It's
the
like a
fact that
non-comedy version
Kimura,
of that one match where Fedor Emelian or no, Mirko Krokop came in as a
yeah,
weapon.
the Mirko, the hustle thing, yeah.
Yeah.
But like the fact that Kimura and Kurihara are able to fight back anyways, even when they're dealing with this living weapon, is incredible.
Admirable.
So I love that tag so much. I love that singles match so much. Just
Okay, Drum,
two incredible matches.
I have something a little controversial to say to you.
Is
Okay.
that so?
I think this third tag is almost to the level of the second tag for me.
I don't know about all that.
Okay.
I don't know.
I will say I forgot how good it is. Because in
Well,
my
I have my
mind it's like in my mind it's like the first match is incredible and potentially the best debut match ever. The second match is almost definitely the best second match for a wrestler ever. The third match is amazing, but that's it. But upon watching it again, yeah, that third match is fucking incredible too. Like I don't think it's at the same level as the first two, but
and it just doesn't give you the Megumi Fujii at the level of the first two.
yeah,
Sadly.
because Fujii is sadly clipped out more here than any of the other two matches. Um, but the stuff we still get from her is still really good, even if it's not at that same level. But Natsuki Head and Shushi Butani are incredible additions, especially Natsuki Head, who
Yes.
is so energized, and I love a good headbutt gimmick. And it feels a little, at first, it feels a little weird because it's like, here's Yoshida and Fujii doing the same grappling shit, and Shushi Butani's kind of learning to fight back, and Natsuki Head's doing the headbutt stuff. It's like, it feels a little bit weird and gimmicky to put that in here. But when Natsuki starts really to like fight back, she does that so well. Like there's this incredible moment where Yoshida goes for her like pedigree move, the double arm thing, and Natsuki Head somehow turns that into a cradle. Like that blew my mind. Like she might secretly be another really amazing grappler, and it's just hidden behind her headbutt offense. Um, I think again, I do disagree that this is on the same level as the second tag or anywhere near the singles. I don't think it's within the same realm as those two, but it is a stunning tag. It is a very stunning tag. It is one that I genuinely did not remember being this good. God damn it, Megumi Fujii is it is a tragedy that we didn't get that tag match out of her. It's a tragedy that we didn't get anything more out of her. But yeah, this tag match, amazing. Fucking
I
even
think for me,
yeah.
I think for me this tag match is more so proof that Fuji could have been a volume player as well as a big match player if need be. Because this feels more of just like I'm not gonna say like a filler match, but compared to the first two, it's definitely not as much of a like a powerful match or like a big match of importance or anything like that. It's just a match that happened and is good, is very good. Had a great time with it. It's like just one of those it's one of those matches. I'm trying to think of like an example, but like a Rey Mysterio TV match, for example, where it's like, yeah, this shit rules, and then
Yeah.
that's it. You have nothing else to say. Like it's just like that was awesome, cool, you know. To me, this match is like the testament that Fuji probably could have put in a lot of like smaller hit wonders along with the big ones
Yes.
if the world would have allowed for it to happen.
No, I entirely agree. The reason that I like this tag so much is just because I think like what you said, John, Natsuki Head's edition felt a little bit weird to me, but I really love the fact that she just kept trying to fit that square peg into the round hole. Because grappling and headbutts, well, they can mix together sometimes, but the types of grappling that Megumi Fujii and Mariko Yoshida do, you can't really headbutt your way out of them. So it feels like solving a problem with something that's going to be causing another problem. It just, I don't know. There's something about that that just really intrigues me in a wrestler or in a tag match.
I mean,
But yeah, Natsuki had
I
this.
get it. Like fucking Carlos Amano, man. Carlos Amano. Like I saw Natsuki Head, and when I saw her do some of that grappling stuff, I was like, God damn, did they did her and Carlos Amano ever wrestle? Like, cause again, that's a big thing with cause I'm a hard pusher for Carlos Amano. I've said before that she is like top 10 women's wrestler ever for me. And she is a headbutts and grappling wrestler. Those are her two things, and she found a way to make it work. And seeing someone like Natsuki Head, who feels like a younger, more head-driven version of Carlos Amano, trying to work and fight her way through this match when she is getting absolutely destroyed by Yoshida for a lot of it and just trying her hardest to fight back. It's an inspiring performance. Like I want to watch more Natsuki Head. I know it's Natsuki Tayo now, and I don't think she does as much headbutt stuff nowadays. But I specifically want to go and find her work as Natsuki Head now. Like I want to see what was she doing during that era because she probably has some insane standout match somewhere.
She has a
Uh,
crazy match with Kaoru Ito.
yeah, I do remember you. I do remember hearing you say that. I know Shushi Butani did not get. She went to Wave, and I'm sure she has some crazy fucking matches in Wave. Um, but yeah, I do want to say, similar to what Cake said, I think this is definitely more of a I don't want to say a house show because it's not a house show, but it's like when the fucking the '90s like All Japan crew would go on like tour somewhere else, and
Like
there'd
an
just be a
exhibition.
cool there'd be like a cool tag match in the main event in a gymnasium in a town in Japan that like they get like that area of Japan gets like one All Japan show a year, and that tag match
Exactly.
is like their one main event a year. Is it going to be the same as a tag in the Budokan? No. Is it gonna be the same as a tag in fucking wherever else? No. Is it going to be a really great tag and it's still going to showcase why these guys rule and why the fans pay tickets to come see them? Yes, it's not as serious, it doesn't have the same gravity, but it still has a lot of the great shit and it shows that these guys are able to work in a different way. Like it these four in this tag are able to work in a different way. They're able to all still do a lot of their same stuff, but just deliver it on a different scale, a smaller scale, but they still deliver it. Um, and I will say, I did like the shit that Yoshida and Fuji did together. They were a little bit more limited in their interactions, but near the end, they basically just did a redux of the first match. Like they do the whole thing with the spider twist into Fuji spider twist. They did the guillotine, the guillotine. Like they kind of go over those spots again, and it's really interesting to see that, especially with the current day knowledge that this is Megumi Fuji's last match ever. So the fact that they would do that callback to their first match and her first match ever is it's weird. I don't it feels like something that probably wasn't even intentional in the moment. It was just something that they felt like they should do. And I don't know. I think it's really cool, and I think the fact that they end this match with Natsuki and Shibutani getting to go against each other rather than Fuji and Yoshida, slightly disappointing because I just want to see more Yoshida and Fuji. But in terms of what Ibuki's meant to be, in terms of what they're trying to do by elevating these wrestlers, letting those two finish the match feels like it was probably the best move. and they finish it really well. So again, this is doing something very different than the first two matches, but what it delivers on, it delivers on what it's trying to do. That's what I really want to say there.
No, I
Indeed.
entirely agree. Which is why I have a soft spot for those TV matches that aren't like going to be something that you mention on the full year-end list or a match of the decade list, but there's something interesting and novel to look at. But this
Right.
one, I yeah, now that I think about it, I definitely prefer the match where the other tag, but this one, I don't know. I Natsuki Head is such a just an instantaneously likable wrestler. If you get
Yeah.
her, you get her. And putting her in the ring with Megumi Fujii was just such an inspired choice. And Ibuki does really, from everything that I've seen from Ibuki, which is pretty limited, it does feel very much like a breath of fresh air from the everything else that was going on in Japanese or the women's scene at the time.
Yeah.
Because in pretty much every other company that I've been watching in this project, a lot of them rely almost exclusively on wrestlers who were popular in the 90s or even before then. In 2005, one of the best Joshi matches of the year, if not the best Joshi match of the year, is Kaoru versus Lioness Asuka, a wrestler who was most popular in the 1980s. So it's really cool to see that Yoshida wanted to bring a new generation into wrestling. And it just feels right that Fuji's last match would be her ushering in a new generation and a new
Yeah.
group of people uh, that should be or that would be inspired by her.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess the ending comment I will leave it on for this tag is that even if it might have left a little bit to be desired, considering this is a Fuji watch through. Even if it did that, I know that the match was not trying to be a Fuji showcase. If you want to see a Fuji showcase, the first match is a great example. The first tag, the second match of her career, is also a great example. This was just her getting to almost show that if she were to go pro, she would be able to work these types of matches and still feel just as important. Uh, and this also feels like a match that is deeply Ibuki. The fact that it ends with those two, that is the right move. Even if, again, I might have been slightly sad seeing that, I know that it is the right move. It is exactly what they should have done, and I'm happy that they did it. So, yeah, God bless Ibuki. I love that Fed. I need to watch more of it. I went on a deep watch of it a long time ago and thought it was the sickest shit ever, and I have not watched it since like 2021. So I need to tap back in. There's like a 30-minute long Kimura versus Yoshida match like a few shows later, and it ends with Kimura winning. So yeah, fucking God bless Yoshida, God bless her vision, and God bless Megumi Fujii, and fuck you, Rossi Ogawa.
All right, before
That's
we
the
head
truest
out
statement
here,
you've ever
folks.
said.
Before we head out of here, folks, I have just one quick question. If you could put Megumi Fujii, or if you could find any Joshi wrestler across the timeline and put her against Megumi Fujii, who would you want to see her face off against? For me, I've been thinking about this ever since I saw her first match. It'd probably be Shinobu Kondori.
Ooh, ooh, yeah, yeah. Shinobu Kandori is a wonderful pick. I gotta think for a second. There are a few people that immediately jump to mind. There is, there's actually one incredibly obvious pick, and I don't want to be the one to take it, but I'm also probably gonna be the one to take it. Before I say her, I will at least say Carlos Amano was immediately considered.
Yes.
Um, Hiromi Yagi immediately considered. Ayako Hamada could have been a really crazy match.
Yeah.
Um,
Especially like O1 Hamada, when she had cut her
yeah,
hair.
I think Mayumi Ozaki would be weird, but I would love to see how she would handle that type of situation. Especially if we're talking about Ozaki during the with police and all the constant interference. Seeing
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
Fujii could handle something like that would fucking rule. But the obvious answer is also probably the correct one. I really wish we could have seen Megumi Fujii versus Aja Kong. I really, really wish we could have seen that. Because, god damn, that probably would have been the best match ever.
I think there's something to be said about Lay Cool here.
I would agree. I would agree.
I agree.
But
I think
think
we're just
my other
overlooking that. We're not giving enough respect to them,
no,
in my
we're not.
opinion.
My only other picks, or the only other thoughts I had were Yumiko Hota. I'd want to see how Fuji works against like a pure striker in that context. Or God, who else was I gonna say? Leon. If you haven't seen Leon, she is she's a masked Joshi wrestler who she includes a little bit of Yabe into her work, but she also includes a tiny bit of shoot style. Like she is a little bit of a combination of both sides of Arshin's style and what they wanted to do. So I think that would be a really interesting match for just like a chameleon like Leon to face off against a purist like Fujii.
Yeah, no, that fucking I have not watched a Leon match in a bit, but Leon's so fucking good. She's so good. Even when she's like unmasked rookie and Arshin and shit, like she's so damn good. And then she puts the mask on and starts doing all the grappling. It's like, God, fucking Megumi Fujii versus Command Bolshoi. Oh, that'd be so good.
Dude,
Oh, fuck this world. Fuck this fuck Rusty Ogawa. She should have had the tag run. She should have faced Leon. She should have faced all the fucking people in Arshin. Aja Kong should have stuck around.
dude,
Ah!
dude. Megumi Fujii and Mariko Yoshida versus LCO. I'll leave it there.
I'm a level with you, Ethan. I just don't really care.